Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Meaning, Guru is a creator, Brahma. Guru is a preserver, Vishnu. Guru is also a destroyer, Shiva. And a Guru is a source of absolute. I offer all my efforts to the great Gurus. I, Priyanka Singh, whole team of Digital Learning Magazine, Let's Technomedia, welcomes you to the second School Leadership Summit 2015 at Hotel Lee Meridian, New Delhi. Asia's premier magazine on education, Digital Learning, was founded in the year 2005. Digital Learning's mission is to raise awareness about the information and communication technology is playing a seminal role in enhancing the scope, reach, and quality of education. Digital learning aims to be your first stop for what's new and what's next in education. ILS Technomedia's mandate is to provide effective information on latest development in different ICT tools, techniques, and their applications across our vertical through our premium print publications, online portals, seminar, conferences, and summits. In 2014, we did our first School Leadership Summit in New Delhi, where 110 schools participated. We felicitated almost 250 schools, and the leading companies working in the field of education partnered with us, which has motivated to us and brought us here to do our second School Leadership Summit. In the December issue of Digital Learning, we ranked almost 800 schools of all over India in the top school ranking. Few years back, and I hope most of the people will agree to this, when I was in school, imagining all my teachers and principal in one room was not less than a nightmare. But today, it's our honor to standing in front of you and make you feel proud at some point or another. And I think all those students of yours who made you and your school proud of you, they deserve a round of applause. For round of applause for all those students who have shined bright outside the world. With this, without delaying anymore, I will proceed with our first session, which is on emerging trend in school education. In frequently changing environment, new dimensions are continuously being added to the learning strategies and the educational management practices. Let's hear from our experts about the emerging trends like online learning, iPads, e-books, interactive whiteboards, acoustics, and lots more are being emerging in the field of education. Are we actually practicing those trends, those strategies? Are these new trends are changing the traditional system of education in India? Our moderator, Ms. Archana Jain, Delhi Public School, Panipat City, I would request her to moderate the session, and it's an open discussion, and I would ask ma'am to initiate the session.
Good morning, everybody. This is Archana Jain from Delhi Public School, Panipat City. We are here to share our experiences and the modalities that we are all following in our own esteemed schools. I would like to impress upon the fact that when we were children, we had only one facilitator, one source, and that was teacher. And probably we were all going through our books. Yes, I remember going through our library, sifting through 4 or 5 books, preparing notes, studying. That was the way of life at that point of time. Today, our children are privileged. They have many more sources to study with, to share our knowledge, to gain our knowledge. Right now, as far as education is concerned, there are a number of newer trends emerging, whether it is cloud computing or it is mobile technology. I remember 1980s. We used to go to college with probably a small tape recorder, okay, where we could record our teachers' lectures. If not, take down the notes, then we would record our teachers' lectures, go back home, prepare our notes through that. But today, all these notes are available on the net. The lecturers, the professors, they are sharing it with the students. All right? Now, I'm not talking only about the college. We have to concentrate on school education too. So, I would like to invite our esteemed panelists to share their experiences as to what they are doing in their own schools. Sir, may I invite yours?
Good morning to all. I am Birendra Rawat. I am from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. My area of work is the Green School. I established first Green School in Modasa, Gujarat. And after that, the model was incorporated by Government of Gujarat. And Government of Gujarat has launched 61 Green School. And I am appointed as advisor to Government of Gujarat. So I am mentoring 61 government Green School as well as 5 other Green Schools. Green School, we are using latest technology to reduce the use of paper. We are using less energy, and we are using source of energy is the solar energy that we call the green energy. The whole concept of Green School is based on Panch Mahabhuta, Prithvi, Jal, Vayu, Akash and Agni. Prithvi means our site, school site. Site must be sustainable. Our tree and teacher ratio are same. Every 20 students there is one teacher, and every 20 students there is one tree. Because one tree emits around 24 kg oxygen during the sun hours. So that is enough for 20 students. So tree and teachers ratio are same. Then about the water, we are only using rainwater, reusing and recycling. Or all toilets are sun facing, they are sun dry, so they are less infection, especially for girls. And girls and boys' toilet are different corner, not in the same the male-female corners. We are taking care of it. And the water filtration is, we are not using RO, we are using sand filtering system. So we are only using sweet water, not the white water. RO gives you the white water, and the sand gives you the sweet water. It's more tasty, oxygen level is more, and minerals are also more. Then about the waste management, we have our waste management system. We have paper recycling machine. So whatever the paper we are using, we are recycling it again and again. So we are ourselves making our chart paper for the FA activities and all. So then the Akash means technology. We are using cloud computing. We have the tablets from the class 5th onwards. And you can say that blended learning and so on. We are using latest one. And it's a Gujarat model. And during this vibrant Gujarat, government has offered us a stall free of cost. And we have received more than 2,000 inquiries from across the world. And so now every government wishes
from him and share his experiences. Wonderful, sir.
Now every government, state government wishes to go for green schooling. So this is the way we are doing in Gujarat. I'm sure that it can be expanded further to other states. Thank you.
Certainly, certainly. Anybody else who would like to share their experience? Ma'am? What we are doing in our schools? Would you like to?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Seema Malhotra. I'm from Manav Rachna International School, Faridabad. And I have the proud privilege of starting Manav Rachna in Gurgaon. We are a progressive school, state-of-the-art infrastructure. We have international curriculum with us, that is Paragon, that is from US. And iCarnegie, which is a robotics program, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths is taught through robotics. And we see that as my friend from Gujarat says, that we look after the atmosphere, the environment, we also do the same. We use very less papers. We communicate with the parents through our ERP system. There is no circular, no paper is going home. We try, even our children, if they have to communicate with the teacher, they do it through net. So we are also trying to do our bit in saving the environment. And I'm proud to be associated with Manav Rachna because the kind of exposure we give our children, we make them global citizens, and along with it, we do not forget our roots. That's the best part of my school. So I'm really proud of it.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. Great, great experience. Anybody else would like to share?
Yeah, ma'am.
Side, ma'am?
Yeah, side.
No? Anything that school is just started. Never mind, ma'am. So you can always, there are lots of takeaways.
Good morning, everybody. My school has just started, and I have just, joined as the principal. So sitting over here amongst all these eminent personalities, it's a great honor for me. This is what, and I'm here just, looking forward to learn so many things from you people.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you,
We need to learn from each other. That's what it is. It's important. Anybody who's doing in their own school about bring your own devices, boy technology, this has become yes ma'am, wonderful. Because right now that is also one of the very important ways of learning.
Good morning to all of you. I am Ratna Dhar from the Millennium School, Karnal. And Millennium School, as many of you might know, we use a lot of technology and a lot of standardized learning for the children. We believe in teaching through concept, not through content, which means that the children are learning at their own free pace. We have certain things called performance enhancement programs. In case the child is not doing well, we keep the child back for a while after school and get them to do it. Every lesson is divided into certain modules wherein we test them, do a little bit of formative assessment on that. And according to the formative assessment, we have gone a grade above in assessing them. Once we feed it into our computer, the computer tells us what is the grade of the child and what is the caliber. We've broken systems in feeling that A is the best and B is somehow not very good. So we call it A being acceptable, B balanced, and C challenged. So if the child is in the challenged group, in the next summative assessment, we give the child just a kind of, his kind of papers. So your paper and my paper and his paper are all separately, are all different according to our calibers. And I think enabling whatever the digital learning or technology-based learning, it is making the child learn at his or her own pace. Wherever there is a shortage, they get back to their teachers. As she mentioned, they can communicate with their teachers online, they can talk to them, they can access the lesson all over again and find out till that particular little knot is sorted out, they carry on with it. And as for the Green School, I think we are all aspiring towards green schools. Thank you.
We are all doing a very good job of keeping our schools green. It may, we may not call ourselves green schools, but each one of us, I'm very sure, is doing our bit. As far as digital boards are concerned, all of us, have gone into having smart boards, digital boards, and digitally enabled learning. I remember when we used to do it only through textbook, learning was a little rote, okay? And the source was only the teacher. Although the teacher, as we had earlier mentioned somewhere a long time ago, that teacher continues to be the wow factor in the class, isn't it? We can never replace the teacher. But learning can be enhanced. You see, whenever we watch a movie, nobody needs a recapitulation for the movie. Isn't it? One go, 3 hours in one go, we remember what the heroine was wearing, what color, what earrings, and whatever, etc. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Visual is very effective. So these digital classrooms or digitally enabled boards are certainly very good source of learning because it is imprinted in your mind. Would you like to shed some light, sir?
Learning cannot be, madam, I little disagree with you, very.
Sure, good. We need to disagree and we'll lead
Kindly
to some
do not
agreement.
treat it as a discourtesy. I am Mr. Rahman, principal of the Radiant International School, Patna.
Sure.
There is a classification, we classify or profile the learner himself or herself. And there are three kinds of learning. Or walk test we conduct. So visual, visual, audio, and kinesthetic. And again, reading has been added, work test we conduct. So again, learning is multisensory, multimodal, and then comes the multiple intelligence and multiple literacy, the area we address. And there is positive points for this whiteboard. There are negative points also.
There's no doubt.
And
Everything
you know,
comes in its positives and negatives, isn't
yes, but technology is instrumental and plays instrumental role, and it has totally transformed the teaching learning process.
Absolutely.
And we should embrace it. There is no looking back, and we should also apply our mind that what technology, what way it can be used. So
we
user.
have to be careful in its usage.
One more area, ma'am, the user has to be trained and the school has to be made techno-savvy, infrastructure has to be developed, and the teachers are to be trained tremendously, need to update. It is a very stressful situation. When I talk to the teachers, they say, sir, sometime I fail to maintain the pace. They need to update, they need to train, and this is a never-ending process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. But the thing is, you know, we are living in this modern world, in this transformed world, where the children are techno-savvy. Our students whom we are teaching are techno-savvy. We as teachers have to keep pace with them. We cannot say, I belong to the past era. I belong to the era. I am very proud to say that I belong to an era when there was no TV. In my remote cities, there was no television. All right, and I grew up with the radio only around me. All right, and today I can proudly say I at 53, I am good at computers. I am maybe not very good at these very smart phones, but I still can use them to my advantage. All right, so all these young teachers should be aware of this, should learn. And let me say one thing, there is always resistance to change. Any change will always be resisted. I remember when computers came to India and the railway ticketing was computerized, there was huge resentment from the certain section in the railway employees. Why this happened? Because they didn't know, they thought that their jobs are at stake. But then they trained themselves into computers, and you see now everything is computerized in the railways. So you have to train, sir, yes. But somewhere along the line, I was talking to a friend here, and she mentioned that we at remote areas are having problems. And we cannot, you know, sitting in metro cities, we have to keep in mind that there are remote areas too. Abhilasha ma'am, would you like to share your thoughts? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to August gathering here. I am Mrs. Abhilasha Singh, and I am heading a school in Sonipat. It's a new school. Ma'am, to identify with what you are facing, we are also in a startup unit. It's a first year, and the beauty of our school is, I'll just like to highlight a little, then take on the topic in discussion. The beauty of the school is that it has been heartland of Haryana, and we cater to the agricultural families. The school has been opened in that area because the thought behind the Lalchand Trust that runs the school was to bring education to the agriculture families. Why deprive them of the fee structure, keeping it very low, and offering international standard education to the kids? So I'm very proud to head that. And in the first year, unprecedented number, 600 plus admissions right in the first year, and we only till class 7 right now from pre-nursery. The kind of faith that the parents have, just for admission, what they wanted for their children. So keeping all that mind. Now also keeping the emerging trends in education, where we are, where the cities are, what is taking place in the classrooms, how modern our classrooms are. We are still 10 years back, I would say 15 years back, because we right now in the school are trying to get our children out of that rote memory conditioning. Whereas now it is so much on hands-on experience, and experiential learning is the byword in the class education, class lesson plans. So to come back to the emerging trends in education and the digital learning that we are talking about, I call the students of this generation the digital natives. They are the clickerati generation. Everything is at a click of a finger, right from the remote to the gadgets that they have in hand. They are born with the technology. The moment the child opens his eyes in the labor room, there's so much technology around. So
and we have seen a wonderful ad on that.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
So,
and a wonderful advertisement.
So it is, and our children, and now the education, digital learning, the children are deciding what they want to learn. Thank you so much. The children are deciding what they want to learn, how they want to learn, and when they want to learn. That is the flexibility that we have got with the new trends that are there in education system. Or not in education system, but education patterns we are saying. So what ma'am said before, the teacher has to be a step ahead of our digital natives. And that is the most difficult thing, because our kids, no matter how smart we become, they will always be smarter than us where technology is concerned, where using gadgets are concerned. So there we have to get, our resource pool has to be trained, we have to be ready to change, we have to be ready to accept the new trends in teaching technology.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Great. Ma'am, would you like to shed some light here? What you are doing in your own school? Share your experience.
Good morning, everybody. So I was told that this was a digital collapse. Nice to see an August gathering over here. Thanks to digital learning for this kind of a platform. And I believe, ma'am, that this is I belong to Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh, a K-12 school, of course, now 14 years since down the line, and CBSE curriculum. Bilaspur is certainly a challenged place. We have first-generation learners, as well as, we have a third group, right from Apollo doctors' kids to NTPC, Balco, CPIT kind of learned officials' kids to first-generation learners. So normally catering to this kind of extreme population of students, it's pretty difficult. But yes, we have taken up the challenge, and off the line since 14 years in state-of-the-art infrastructure, of course, an air-conditioned school with smart classes, and all possible efforts to put up best possible education, we have been doing it. And digital learning is certainly here to stay. It is here to stay, we accept it, and we have accepted it 100%. As Madam was mentioning, in such kind of worlds, we have very, very difficult situations in even connecting to the net. I mean, you need to have really, really a lot of, put in a lot of labor and effort to get the net working. So this is an important thing, and we have been in such kind of a situation, been able to give brilliant education to our children. Of course, we do believe in digital learning, but what I strongly believe is we need to be providers to find out and cater to our children and tell them exactly when to put a full stop and how to use the technology. That's what Sir was also mentioning. Huge technology all around. huge catering all around, but when to put that comma and full stop is there what we exactly as teachers need to tell our children. Because value education is something that we all can give, and it cannot be catered by a thing that is said to be as technology. Value comes with when we touch the lives of our children. So this is chiefly important in this arena. And after 14 years of putting in this particular segment, I believe that my next 14 years would chiefly go on catering to more of value orientation while digital learning is all around them. So this is something that I know.
Wonderful thought shared here, ma'am, that value can never be, ma'am, value can never be made small, made feel small, because we in India are very deeply rooted to our value system, right? Yes, there is so much of information all around us digitally on the net. We need to know how it should be sifted and how it is to be used for us. Yes, we as teachers, we need, how we can do it is probably through flipped classrooms, where we can give them an assignment beforehand. All right, we can give them a topic beforehand and ask them to go through it, prepare questions for the teacher. Are you getting the point? I remember my time. Again, I go back to my time, which is so not digitally enabled at all, which was not at all. We were doing tutorials. And in those tutorials, we used to divide one topic into 5, 10, 15 parts. And each one of us, each student was given one segment, one part of it. We had to prepare that. And we had to give a lecture to the rest of the class. The rest of the class was seated behind, waiting, because they not only prepared their own segment, their own part, but they prepared the rest of it also. Why? Because they wanted to pull the leg of their fellow students. They wanted to see where we were faltering. Are you getting what I am trying to say? That is what I did in my childhood. My teachers were so great. What we can do is, yes, we can give them that flipped classroom situation. We can give them a topic. We can ask them to prepare a lecture. If not a lecture, then at least prepare a set of questions. Can we all do that? Are we anybody who's doing flipped classrooms in their own school? Yes, ma'am. Would you like to share?
That's a fantastic thought, ma'am. Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Niyati Chitkara. I'm the principal of Chitkara International School, Chandigarh. Thank you so much, Digital Learning, for providing us this opportunity to share our school experiences and our learning with such a learned community here. Talking about flipped classroom, in our school we call these as RTT sessions, which is like revision through teaching sessions, where a 5th standard child teaches a 4th standard child, and a 4th standard child teaches a 3rd standard child, because when you teach, you learn the best. Also, ours is a very, everybody says our school is very unique, but I'd like to share a story about our school. We started 10 years back, and we knew nothing about school education at that time. It was a very raw, fresh team. And when you don't know anything, the only option left for you is to do research. And that's what we started doing. We started studying schools. Till date, we love to study schools. And that's the passion of our team. So we realized that normally the curriculums are made from kindergarten till grade 12. But our school has a university. It's called Chitkara University as its back. And our curriculum is from university till K. So we started from the back and reached to the kindergarten level. So on the way, we found a lot of gaps. There were certain things which were taught that industry doesn't need. Why are we doing this? If a child is not getting a job post higher education program, there are some gaps in the school education as well. So we work at Chitkara International School, we work like doctors. So we feel teachers are doctors, and our duty is to diagnose the illness. Illness would mean learning gaps. So जैसे डॉक्टर बीमारी के लिए टेस्टिंग के लिए आप laboratories में जाते हैं, then you diagnose the test, and then you say, okay, that's the illness, and you need to give the antibiotic there and then. So with students, for us in our school, every child is a case study to us. We need to diagnose the learning gap and give the antibiotic at the right time, not after 2 months when the PDM happens. So it's like a just-in-time feedback, and the heart of the school lies in assessments. So we'll share the assessments, we'll talk about assessments in the post-lunch session as well, but that's the core area, and we use lots and lots of assessment softwares to dive deep into the child's world. So that's about our school. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to have been asking? I'm very sorry, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Colonel Shekhar from Gujarat, Atul Vidyalaya. I do have a session in the afternoon, so it's good to say something which is against the grain. Firstly, I certainly believe, and just for the debate to start, teachers, at least at a certain level, will become expendable. We all believe in that false security zone that we are not expendable. Even more, I certainly believe principals are expendable. In more ways than one, as the digitization moves forward and as the learning arenas, the content versus concept thought moves, things are going to change quite dramatically. The second point is this metro focus will also seriously change, something similar to what the Indian cricket team went through. Years back, we had 7 to 8 cricketers from Mumbai. Mumbai won 40 of the first 64 Ranji Trophy finals. Today, they are not even getting into the next round. And our captain comes from Ranchi, a backwater. Perhaps after a while, Virat Kohli can bring it up. The urban landscape, with the number of children coming up, we'll have lesser number of schools focused in the metroscapes. It will be much more in rural hinterland. And if you see any of these census statistics, the number of children born in urban India is less than 1.5. It's 2.5 and 2.8. Even 3+ in UP and Bihar. And finally, most importantly, we are saying digital, we are saying teacher education, we are saying blackboard, whiteboard, round board, whatever it is. At the end of the day, still only 18 of our 100 students are reaching college. Only 39 of our 100 students are reaching class 9, despite right to education. So instead of living in a world where we believe that we are doing a good job, we must reflect on it. My apologies for being the devil's advocate. Thank you.
We always need a devil to bring the angel out of all of us. No, sir, not at all. You yourself said it. But what you said was very apt, that we need to focus on the rural part of India as well. The remote, as I think I touched upon the remote India as well. Yeah. So because the idea is that we have to take the whole country together. We cannot live in island. We cannot live in isolation. Because if we remain in isolation, we will never grow. We have to take the whole country together. I would like to ask sir, to share your thought.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning, Mrs. Jain and fellow colleagues. I'm Desmond De Monte from Sri Ram Global School, Rohtak. And as we were just discussing about emerging trends and technology into education, I'd like to state that way back in 2007, when I was the principal at St. Peter's School, Panchgani, we had already designed classrooms to bring in technology where students would not bring any notebook. They would have a laptop. They would take down notes. Everything was done. But somehow the danger always lurks with the management. What if technology is misused? How do we put, checks and balances? Then we moved ahead with an exchange program with schools in Finland and Netherlands. And that organization is known as UMind. And it is Europe Meets India. And we started having e-journal projects. So we really brought in technology way back in 2008, where students from schools in Panchgani, Pune and Mumbai collaborated with schools in Finland and Netherlands. We had e-journal, and we also had video conferencing. So there was actually a global exchange, and that was complemented with virtual and real exchanges also. So technology is there to stay. How we do it, how we bring it into the classroom.
It is the usage of the technology which is very important.
Yes, it's very important, and also the companies that are going to develop these tablets or are in the process or have developed, they have to make it cost effective. That's very important because otherwise rural India will not benefit. Just giving 5,000 or 10,000 tablets just to come into prominence and highlight is not the answer. And along with technology, what is very important, way back in 80s when I was in school, I had economics as my 6th subject. We had encyclopedias at that time.
Yes.
And we
still have, and we don't use them in the library.
We don't use it. And the projects that were done were actually real projects. We can't leave that common touch. I did it on a cobbler, and I'm ensured that I went to the cobbler, I interviewed him, I had a black and white Kodak camera, we clicked the photographs, and it was a real project. Now the danger of technology is a lot could be just lifted. And that is the danger.
Plagiarism.
Plagiarism, yes. That is something we have to really work as educators and technology developers. How are we going to make students smart learners? So
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You know, technology came to the US and UK, the western part of the world, much earlier. And I think they have now gone back to the teacher more. Why? The technology has also its ill effects, I would say, because none of us here touch the mobile apps and the mobile technology. Today, mobiles are in the hands of each and every individual in India. Even a sabji wala, a rickshaw wala, an auto wala would also have these mobile phones, if not only for the purpose of communicating, but also to develop their businesses. Okay? Because they can get a call from their regular customer, okay, when are we supposed to be there. So mobile is also one very important source of learning. Mobile apps are there. There are digital books, there are e-books which can easily be downloaded on the mobiles, and we can study from there as well. But as far as the US and the UK are concerned, I would say these mobiles, these laptops have their own negative features as well, because then children sitting at the back, what they are really doing, studying or not, or playing games on the laptop, that is also very important fact that I would like this to be the last comment from you, sir, because we need to sum it up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Colonel Shekhar, I'm going to argue with you. There was a study done in the US last year. Of a school's success, 70% of that can be ascribed to the teachers and the principal, 30% to the infrastructure, resources, and technology. So to say that the teachers are being made redundant, I think, I agree with everything else you said, but that one point I would say the teachers are.
Yeah. Just to intervene, it was said as something for us to reflect upon, and also to add, if you want a Harvard degree today, online you can get it without FaceTime with the teacher. I'm only looking at it when cloud schools come into play, as what Shogata Mitra says. There are places where entire subjects are being taught without the specific teacher available, but I take your points. Thank you.
Just listening to everyone, what I would say is just the last comment you had made about the US and the UK moving away. We focus sometimes too much on the delivery mechanisms. I think technology is a delivery mechanism. The real trend that I see is, as Mehmet said, experiential learning. Learning by doing. Bloom's taxonomy has really come up again, right? The application, the analysis. To me, these are the real trends that are there, and at the end of the day, the teacher has value. The teacher is irreplaceable, and you know, as the study says, 70% of a school's success is ascribed to the teachers and the principal. So we need to still develop there. We need to catch up. I remember last year there was a quote from the principal of Singapore International School. 19th century curriculum, 20th century teachers, 21st century students. That has resonated with me. We do need to catch up. We do need to get to the point where we can keep up with our MTS, born for the internet children. But the teacher is still very, very important, and experiential learning and how we train our teachers to develop that in children is what is the main trend I see in education right now in the world.
As I said, the teacher still remains the wow factor in the classroom, in the school, because that is the main connect between the subject, the learning, and the students. I would like to sum up this session as I'm being road rolled. But then I think we have learned a lot here from the Green School concept from Gujarat. Then something that Ratnadhar probably mentioned about concept, not content. I'm just lifting certain words from you, whatever you all said. STEM through robotics from Manav Rachna. In remote areas, the technology, as you mentioned, Abhilasha. Somebody mentioned about the values, ma'am, the value system. All right, we must never forget our values, especially Indian values, because we in India, we will continue to have our value system most important to our hearts. Okay, and these children, they are learning from Western education, the Western style of education, slowly are weaning off from there, and we still need to bring them back to their roots. What, sir, that you mentioned about mentioned about what, right? Something. What learning style? Right, right. The right RTE, you mentioned about RTE, the Chitkara school? RTT, that is revision through teaching, revision through teaching. Something I really enjoyed, because then you can bring your seniors, go back to juniors and teaching them. I always believe that when you teach something, I think your concepts become clearer as a teacher. When you were a student, probably you did not understand that concept better. But the moment you start teaching, you understand that concept better. I'm just trying to share a little bit here. It's my personal experience, personal example. I was talking to my daughter on telephone. She's in US. She was discussing, she had a paper the next day, and she was asking me a certain questions, because economics is my subject. So she was discussing something on that. And after a while, I said, okay, now we are done away with whatever you had to ask. Now you start teaching me. Whatever you have learned, you teach me. We were doing it on telephone. It was an expensive teaching that was happening. But, but I said, you teach me. So whatever are your gaps, they will get filled. Idea is that when I talk about flipped classroom, that's a very good example. I used to ask my students to come up on the board and do the numericals. Asking them to come up on the board, they feel very shaky initially, but then they gain a lot of confidence. So if we want our children to do well, I think we need to develop these skills. Right. Class. That's a wonderful idea, isn't it? Wonderful, ma'am. Whatever best practices we are sharing here, we should gain from each other and implement in our own schools. Something you mentioned about mobile technology, again, we are losing out on social skills, yes, because of the mobiles. We have stopped talking to our family members sitting next to us. Rather, we are connected to our distant friends, but very disconnected with our own relatives, our own family. But coming back to newer skills, newer emerging trends in the schools, in the education system, it has been a wonderful session that we have had here. Thank you so much. This is Archana Jain from DPS Panipat City signing off. Thank you.
Yes. I'm so sorry, I would like to know, just by raise of hands, how many I mean, we've got progressive schools here, and we give a lot of independence to the students. We give a lot of respect to them and respect their individuality. How many allow students to get mobile phones to school? Not at all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a one discussion which was very interesting. And this is good, so good to hear that our schools, our teachers are trying so hard and they have such ideas in their mind and they're implementing them in their schools. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for moderating the session so well. Now we will move towards, round of applause for ma'am. Now we will move toward to an industry presentation by Mr. Naresh Dubale, DGM, FMD and Training ABP, Armstrong. I will request sir to come up on stage and start with the presentation. Round of applause for the sir, please.
Let the technology take its own time to get set. Thank you all for being here, and thanks for the gift of time which you are giving it to us. What I'm going to speak about is very common sense topic, is about sound in education. And we're talking about leadership in education, and we're talking about acoustics in education. Yeah, can we have the screen, please? We are talking about India being forerunner in education, and currently if we see the scenario, none of the Indian universities is figuring out in top 300 ranking. And it's not an accident, because kids are coming from K-12 education. And we had a conference with 50 vice chancellors with Microsoft, Armstrong, SCL, pondering over different challenges in higher education. And the key challenge came up is India is great in producing engineers, doctors. We say so many percentage in NASA and IBM, and all those are technocrats, doctors. But if you really understand, these subjects are like black and white, either correct or wrong. So when it comes to research, it's all about language and thinking. So is our education conducive enough for making our kids think and think differently? You know, they say the creative man is motivated by desire to achieve, not by desire to beat others. And success and leadership is all about being better than your former self than worrying about what is happening in the world. So that change and shift need to really happen in the K-12 education. And sound is something as hub of learning and teaching. Ultimately, buildings, school buildings are for kids. What I mean to say is they are built for student to learn and teacher to teach. And a primary media of connection is sound. How much attention we are paying to the sound, because ultimately awareness brings in choice and change. So I have sent a mail to most of you saying you can have a simple app downloaded on your smartphone called Sound Meter, like this, and measure the dB level in a classroom. So we'll see, we have done some work over last 1 year, engaging with some good institutes, some government institutes, and we just, I'll share my work over last 1 year, and I think I'm very confident it will be useful for you when you go back to make some difference in your own school. In our education system, it's not sufficient just to be in the class and listen to a teacher. A student needs to understand what teacher is saying, and most importantly, go back and reproduce in exam. For that to happen, for that learning to happen, what we say in physics word intelligibility of the sound is very critical. And that's the function of building, construction, architecture, and the surfaces which you use. So once you achieve a sound clarity inside the class, you need to protect it from mechanical noise. Now anything in the class which is not desirable is a noise. So the sound from the next class is a noise in this class. So, and kids are like, Tare Zameen Par, they constantly get distracted. So any external stimulus comes in, no matter how good the teacher is, the kid is going to look out. and the learning is at the stake. So we need to protect the sound. So this both things is something which need to be paid utmost attention in any school for that matter. This is a snapshot of various schools where we have studied the sound level. And there are two parameters, reverberation time and a dB level. Now dB level is very well understood, which is like, what is the sound level? It's 70 dB, 75 dB. As a human being, we can only speak without enhancer at 75, 80 dB. So when the sound level in the class is as a 65 dB or 70 dB, which is a normal case in most of the school, the teacher standing there has to beat that voice by being top of her vocal performance. Now what happened? Language is, in the words, English, whatever, is 5,000 years old. Emotions are far deeper. And only when you modulate your voice, I can say I love you in 10 different ways and each I love you means different thing. Teacher doesn't have that choice. She needs to perform because every 2 meters in the air, sound dies by 6 dB. So next 2 meters dies by 12 dB, next 2 meters dies by logarithmic. So to reach to a last range, she needs to really be talking constantly at a high pitch and a high tone, which means she's just producing voice, not communicating. Yeah, you're with me on this? And the second important parameter is reverberation. Now, how loud you listen or how hard you listen, if you have an echo in a room, means what? If you have a reverberation time more than 0.5 seconds in a room, you will have sound coming back to you again and you can distinctly hear it. Like in this room, there is some echo in this room. And simple test is go to your class or your school, any class, early in the morning when there is less noise in the city or late in the night, and just go and clap. And if you clap and can hear your clap coming back to you again, that means there's a reverberation in the room. So when you say book, as simple as book, in a different place it can sound like book, bark. So very complicated English words, or a first-time English second language students will not understand the pronunciation correctly. Even they have a book in front of them, they'll take far more time to connect the dots. And that's a barrier to a learning. So we studied some coaching classes as Kota, some LEED certified school in Baroda. And it's a blind spot. In Indian education system, currently, sound is a blind spot. I've been to Australia, studying Australian education systems and their codes and standards around that. We're working with MHRD to come up with some standard which we can measure and benchmark against while designing our classrooms. Because 90% of the time, 95% of the times are spent by kids in the classroom. And we talk about education system where flip education or a co-education or a different form of education, more than one person is going to speak in the class. So you need a further sound clarity without an answer. So this is, I got a very nice video on a TED. You will be aware TED is a very good platform where eminent speaker comes and share their views. And this is a TED talk from a Julian Treasure. He's not an Armstrong employee. He's speaking about just a small clipping from his entire TED talk. I will urge you to go back and see the entire talk back there. I'm just sharing the school part about sound in his session.
Education. When I see a classroom that looks like this, can you imagine how this sounds? I'm forced to ask myself a question. Now, that's a little unfair. Some of my best friends are architects, and they definitely do have ears, but I think sometimes they don't use them when they're designing buildings. Here's a case in point. This is a £32 million flagship academy school, which was built quite recently in the UK and designed by one of Britain's top architects. Unfortunately, it was designed like a corporate headquarters with a vast central atrium and classrooms leading off it with no back walls at all. The children couldn't hear their teachers. They had to go back in and spend £600,000 putting the walls in. Let's stop this madness of open-plan classrooms right now, please. It's not just these modern buildings which suffer. Old-fashioned classrooms suffer too. A study in Florida just a few years ago found that if you're sitting where this photograph was taken in a classroom, row 4, speech intelligibility is just 50%. Children are losing 1 word in 2. Now, that doesn't mean they only get half their education, but it does mean they have to work very hard to join the dots and understand what's going on. This is affected massively by reverberation time, how reverberant a room is. In a classroom with a reverberation time of 1.2 seconds, which is pretty common, this is what it sounds like.
In language, infinitely many words can be written with a small set of letters. In arithmetic, infinitely many numbers can be composed from just a few digits with the help of the simple zero.
Not so good, is it? If you take that 1.2 seconds down to 0.4 seconds by installing acoustic treatments, sound-absorbing materials, and so forth, this is what you get.
In language, infinitely many words can be written with a small set of letters. In arithmetic, infinitely many numbers can be composed from just a few digits with the help of the simple zero.
What a difference. Now that education you would receive, and thanks to the British acoustician Adrian James for those simulations, the signal was the same, the background noise was the same, all that changed was the acoustics of the classroom in those two examples. If education can be likened to watering a garden, which I think that's a fair metaphor, sadly, much of the water is evaporating before it reaches the flowers, especially for some groups. For example, those with hearing impairment. Now, that's not just deaf children. That could be any child who's got a cold, glue ear, an ear infection, even hay fever. On a given day, 1 in 8 children fall into that group on any given day. Then you have children for whom English is a second language, or whatever they're being taught in is a second language. In the UK, that's more than 10% of the school population. And finally, after Susan Cain's wonderful TED Talk in February, we know that introverts find it very difficult to relate when they're in a noisy environment doing group work. Add those up, that is a lot of children who are not receiving their education properly. It's not just the children who are affected, though. This study in Germany found the average noise level in classrooms is 65 decibels. I have to really raise my voice to talk over 65 decibels of sound. And teachers are not just raising their voices. This chart maps the teacher's heart rate against the noise level. Noise goes up, heart rate goes up. That is not good for you. In fact, 65 decibels is the very level at which this big survey of all the evidence on noise and health found that that is the threshold for the danger of myocardial infarction. To you and me, that's a heart attack. It may not be pushing the boat out too far to suggest that many teachers are losing significant life expectancy by teaching in environments like...
So let me ask you, who is at more risk in the school? Yeah, there's a risk to the teacher and who run the facility, but there's more risk to the kids, undoubtedly, because they're giving time of their life. Apart from what Julian said there, the most profound problem in a country like India is English being second language. And we as an adult has no idea how kids listen. This is a study done by Acoustic Society for Education. I want to draw your attention to the graph out here, which maps the hearing ability of a 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old with respect to background noise. Now, what does it mean is if the source of noise is 1 dB less than a background noise, a 6-year-old won't understand anything or won't hear anything. As we grow adult or as we go younger, we get better at listening even though the background noise is higher than the source of noise. So as an adult teacher goes and sits in the last row, he or she may feel he can understand what is happening, but that's not the world of 10-year-old sitting in that 7th standard or 6th standard. You know? So signal to noise ratio is like objective measure of a clarity of the sound in the space. So this graph and the study done over 10 lakh students shows that adult can get 100%, they miss 10%. And adult miss 10%, they miss 50 to 40% of the words spoken in that space. And which is like a fact. And it can be really understood when we take the young ones to a restaurant for a dinner. They don't really participate in a session because they don't get it. Or you shout and they just don't get connected with you in a large house saying they don't heard it, kind of. That's mainly because they don't really get it, being human. So this is a case study, and I'm happy to share with you an Indian case study out here where we have taken a classroom, which is very good classroom, a very successful school, delivering results out there. We studied the classroom, and we have a software, we simulated it, we got an external agency who measured the sound level there, and we retrofitted with appropriate product in the ceiling, which got down the reverberation time down to less than 0.6 seconds. And so this is a feedback which we took from the students pre and post. The satisfaction level, ease of understanding lesson, ease of understanding, hearing teacher clearly has dramatically improved. But this is like a feedback from those 37 students in that class. But the next is a teacher's feedback. And this is a post video taken after she experienced the teaching in that class for 3 days. And this is quite insightful.
Construction of ceiling, you could say the voice is somewhere there in the room. It's like the echo, I couldn't hear the echo also. Last time it was necessary for me to kind of take a rounds between the rows so that they could hear easily. But this time I could stand in the middle in front of them and speak. There's no need for me to take a round sometime so that I could make sure they're listening to me properly or my voice is a little bit audible to them. I could able to speak clearly and they're able to get the things clearly from me. So there's no communication gap between us. As compared to last time, the teaching environment was disciplined this time and was cooperative also because they got my question clearly and they were able to answer it. So the volume is normal. Even they don't need to raise their volume and neither do I have to do the same. It's like everything is going on the track. The concentration level is good. It was very good this time as compared to last time. Last time I had to somehow remind them or give them a reminder to be quiet. It was somehow noisy, but this time it was quite easy for me to manage the class. This time it did reach to the last bench because there were many who raised their hand and they replied to the question correctly. I mean, they got the question what I said or whatever content I said. So they were able to answer it and they were able to understand also what I said this time. As far as the noise level is concerned, it was quite audible for them to hear me. And yes, there was no noise in the class this time. That is the difference I found in previous class and this class.
Okay. So we wanted to do a work with you, with your institute. There is a form on your table which you can fill up. We can connect with your institute, come over, our engineer can come, measure a sound meter, sound levels, reverberation time, can recommend a solution, and you can test in one classroom and see how it works for you. So what we have is we have a very dedicated teachers and we have very sincere students coming to the school. What matters is, connecting them ongoingly is at the heart of excellence which you deliver in education system. So you can have your own study done with respect to feedback from your teachers and the students with 2 or 3 classrooms and can see, we have done studies in UK and China, we'll be doing in India too. We're doing study over 3 years or 4 years and changing the grade in a control group and non-control group. Probably another couple of years I can share those research reports with you also. So I won't spend more time on this because paucity of time. We can come and work with you. We have 23 locations present in India. There are global standards around us, So global standards around background noise in the school is 35 dB. TERI has released a guideline for Prakriti rating for existing school, which talks about 45 dB. So when we work with TERI, we talk about, let's move progressively. Right now we have 55 dB or 60 dB background noise. Let's work toward 45 dB to achieve as a first benchmark. So I really urge your cooperation to being aware and sensitive about reverberation in your learning places and background noise in your spaces. So that once we have awareness, we can work toward reducing it progressively to make our education excellence. So with Armstrong, another area very important apart from the classroom is the lobby area. Because anything which happen in a lobby, any discussion which happen in the lobby, disturb the fully double-loaded classrooms. So treating the lobby is the most important thing. We normally treat auditorium or a lecture hall because reverberation out there is 3 seconds or 4 seconds, which is unbearable. But we live with 1.2 seconds, as Julian Treasure said, inside the classroom. So once we get that down to 0.5 seconds, I think the quality of learning could be excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks for your attention. Thank you.